Okay, we'll get started, but yeah, thank you guys for joining the Queen's panel. It's good to see some familiar names. And yeah, thank you for registering and submitting your questions. So we just have like go over basic etiquette, just mute your audio. We are also recording the webinar. So if you're uncomfortable with being in the recording, just make sure you turn off your camera as well. But if you're comfortable, you can feel free to turn on your camera. And if you have any urgent questions, you can put that in the chat box and we'll have an opportunity to go over the Q&A at the end. Otherwise, you can just save your questions till the end. And we would love to highlight our sponsor, Pearson, and thank them for sponsoring our Tuesday Talk series. So they have a lot of useful digital services and textbooks and all that kind of thing. If you were here in the first panel, one of our panelists talked about a little bit about like the cost of the textbooks and everything. So this is a great resource. I know I used it in first year econ. So I know some of you guys might have this resource. So stay tuned for some of our Brownie Point prizes. We'll be including some credits to Pearson. So shout out, thank you to Pearson. So I'm gonna go over the agenda. So briefly on Leap Canada, we strive to equip our high school students with the resources and skills to succeed in post-secondary and beyond. And we do this one way through our Tuesday Talks webinars. So today, we're first gonna, on our Queen's panel, we're gonna introduce our panelists, and then we're gonna have our panel discussion, which was from the questions that you guys submitted ahead of time for registration, and then we'll have our open Q&A period at the end. Other programming that you can look forward to. So we have our 5 weeks of Tuesday Talks, and then afterwards in August, we're actually launching our exploratory program, which will be a great opportunity for you guys to learn about different career industries. So stay tuned for the exploratory program as well. And also our Brownie Point system, if you were here in the first one, sorry if I'm repeating a lot of information, but if you're just joining us, the Brownie Point system, you'll be able to win really cool prizes just by attending our webinars and participating and engaging in the discussion. So just make sure you're submitting your questions at the end, filling out the feedback forms, etc. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Okay, so let's get started. Oh, well, I already mentioned this, but yeah, an overview of LEAP, a nonprofit student-run organization. And yeah, we're really glad to have you guys all here. Oh, I did not know. Okay, yeah, so it talks about Pathfinder, but that's our exploratory program coming up in August. So make sure you stay tuned in that, follow our socials, and we have a lot more information coming out soon. Okay, so we're gonna get started in introducing our panelists. We can have our first panelist introduce himself.
Thanks, Rita. So my name is Heng Jia. I'm going into my third year of commerce at Queen's University. This summer, I'm working as an audit intern for KPMG in their Ottawa office, and then some extracurriculars I've been fortunate enough to be involved in. I serve on the advisory board as a director for the Queen's Commerce Society. I'm doing some consulting work for a pro bono consulting firm through my school. And then lastly, I'm also involved on the Queen's Entrepreneurship and Innovation Committee as a finance director. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of my experiences with everyone tonight.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Hanja. And Julia?
Hi, I'm going to my second year at Queen's. I'm in the Con Ed program studying psychology and getting a minor in economics, as well as I'm completing the Smith certificate in business. And then throughout high school, I was in a lot of councils, which helped with my application when getting into Queen's. Next year, I hope to shadow some professors in the psychology department. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Salem, and I just finished my first year in the health sciences program, so I'm going into my second year. Some extracurriculars that I guess that I do is that I'm a private English tutor for elementary students. So that's pretty fun. I'm also part of this organization called Prospective Medical Professionals, also known as PUMP, and I am the co-head of logistics there. I was a past research assistant with Nexus Laboratories, and this year I'm a bounce back mentor at Q Success, which kind of mentors first-year students coming into university. So yeah, I'm happy to be here to share my experience and answer your questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Salem.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in last. So my name is Truman. I'm going into third year in September. And right now I'm actually a software developer for a Vancouver-based startup called Vision. It's not really public yet, but in July it will be. Some other extracurriculars, I'm a head TA for Discrete Mathematics 1 and have been for a little bit. I'm also a senior software developer for Queen's Technology and Media Association, which is a commerce club. And I'm also the electrical team lead for Queen's Soft Robotics team. I'm looking forward to speaking about my experiences and answering any questions today.
All right. Thank you, Truman. Thank you to all our panelists for introducing themselves. And to highlight, kind of go through what our panel discussion entails, there'll be 5 sections, like a starting off section, just to get to know a bit more about our panelists and kind of their experience at Queen's, and academics, experiences, residence, and then financial aid. Okay, so to start off, why did you choose Queen's? So why don't we start with Hengja? Do you want to, yeah, go ahead.
So I would say I chose Queen's for 3 main reasons. The first one kind of being the reputation of the commerce program. I'm happy that the reputation of the program is definitely domestically well recognized, internationally not so much yet. The reputation of the program is definitely up there alongside the cost of the tuition for the program, unfortunately. But I think primarily what I guess strengthens the reputation would definitely be the resources that are available and kind of the, I guess, career resources and guidance. And I'm happy to speak on that a little later. And the second reason, I'm from Ottawa, so just a 2-hour drive from campus. I was lucky to get my parents to send me down a cooler of food every couple weeks. And for someone that has absolutely zero cooking skills, that was always much appreciated. And then the third reason of choosing Queen's, primarily because of their international exchange program, and that's usually pretty highly regarded. In the commerce program, I would say I think 85 to 90% of the people do go on exchange, study abroad for 1 semester, and I'm looking forward to heading to Singapore in the winter semester of 2022.
Well, that's super cool. I also want to study exchange, but I don't think my school has I know Queen's has is known for having a really solid exchange program. So that's definitely something I should have considered more. But yeah, thank you, Hengja. Julia, do you want to explain why you chose Queen's?
Yeah, of course. So I'm in the Con Ed program and not many schools in Ontario offer it. Queen's was my top choice for that reason and for among others. It has really good research opportunities and small class sizes. So I'm in psychology, so they accept about 200 kids a year. So it ends up being pretty small class sizes. You just get a better relationship with your TAs and your profs. And I have to second the exchange programs. I'm planning to do it in third year too. Other than that, it was just a well-renowned school. It's pretty well known and it just has a good vibe to it if you've ever been.
Yeah, I've visited Queen's before. They definitely have a very nice campus. Good vibes for sure. Salem?
So yeah, there were 4 reasons why I chose Queen's. I kind of had plans on wanting to pursue a career in medicine, so I applied to lots of biology programs, health science programs, and life science programs in Canada. And something that I really liked about the Queen's first year health sci courses were they were really specific to human health rather than learning about plants and fungus and other animals. I wanted to be away from home to kind of become more independent. So Queen's is around a 3-hour drive from where I live. So it's kind of far, but still close enough to come visit home. The class size, we have a small cohort, so around 170 to 240, I believe. So like Julia said, getting to really know the people that are in your cohort, close relationship with your professors and stuff like that. And finally, something that I considered was also the entrance scholarships and just comparing the different schools and what they had to offer.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Salem. I almost said Julia, sorry. Thank you, Julia and Salem. And Truman, do you want to finish off this question?
For sure. I guess for me, the ultimate decision came down to really wanting to get out of my comfort zone, rather than commuting to other schools I got accepted to, where I'd most likely be around the same people from high school. I really want to basically just push myself, get to know other people, essentially grow in a new environment. And that was my biggest like reason. I guess there were other factors, and a lot of them the other panelists did mention. So, for example, smaller cohorts. So, for comp sci, it's about 120 students or so a year. Also, a lot of financial aid, which Queens provided first year, which was really helpful. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. Perfect. So moving on, interested in knowing what the social life, environment, culture is like at Queens and Kingston. And also following up on that, is the environment competitive? So we can start with Hengja again.
Yeah, so I would say that because the Queens is a smaller campus, at least from personal experience, it's definitely a tight-knit culture, close to, easy to reach out to upper years, to peers in your year, to profs. Anyone's happy to help out, happy to chat about anything. So I think in that sense, it definitely strengthens the culture. In terms of the, I guess, university life culture, I'm sure many of you have heard that Queens is recognized as a kind of play hard on the weekends, but study hard on the weekdays. And I think that's exactly, definitely defines Queens as a school quite well. On the weekdays, it's academics focused, and then on the weekends, it's what's left of you, you can feel free to, there's always time to enjoy. So in terms of competition, I think if you surround yourself with the right people, it's good competition rather than competition that brings you down.
Thank you. And Julia?
Yeah, so obviously Queens is an amazing school, so everyone that goes there wants to succeed, and many people do. With that being said, there are some people who are more competitive than others, but just like what you said, you know, it's probably better to be surrounded by competitive people than non-competitive people because they push you to do better as well. So I think if you just surround yourself with people who are more like you'll be better off to succeed. With that being said, though, you just need to focus on yourself and your own academics and balance the social aspect with it.
Perfect. And Salem?
Yeah, I can't say too much about this as I just finished my first year, and the only people I kind of interacted with were the only people that were in my program. But what I can kind of say is, even though I didn't really meet people face to face, I've met a lot of people who are super friendly. I liked how the people in my program were really like-minded, hardworking individuals, and it was a great community, everyone really helping each other out. Like others have said before me, there may be competitive students, but you know what, once you kind of find your kind of group and the people that you want to surround yourself with, just make sure it's healthy competition rather than toxic competition.
Yeah, I like that differentiation between the healthy and the toxic competition, for sure. And Truman, do you want to finish us up?
Yep. Again, I guess kind of similar to what everyone said. Yeah, there is, you know, some competition. Of course, you don't have to always perceive it in a toxic way, unless if it, I guess, is so. But yeah, the social life, everybody's really tight knit usually. Like the community is really pretty small in my opinion. So you know, you'll get to know lots of people from diverse backgrounds and all.
Yeah, perfect. And to finish with the starting off section, what are the best parts about campus? And we can switch things up a bit. Why don't we start from last to first this time? So Truman, would it be okay if you start us off?
Yeah, sure. The campus is really easy to navigate. Any building you need to go to. If anything, you can just look at Google Maps or something, and you'll probably be able to find your way around campus. And also, everything's in walking distance. So a lot of the time, you won't have to really worry about busing, taking a car, etc. Of course, it is helpful to know. For example, if you want to get downtown or to West Campus, which we might touch on later.
And then Salem, since I just want to make sure we're on track with time, we'll just quickly go through the best parts. So everyone just say their favorite part. We'll go through that part briefly, but yeah, Salem.
Alrighty. I would have to say it's kind of like the old building style of the campus. Kind of looks like castles. I visited a few times, and then the pier, definitely the pier.
Julia.
Yeah, I'll second you with that. The pier is definitely the most fun part about the campus, even though it's a little further away, but for sure.
And Henja.
So I would say the proximity to downtown. I'm pretty sure Kingston has the most number of restaurants per capita across all of Canada. So for those that are heading in person in September, feel free or be sure to try out all the restaurants around.
Perfect. And moving on to the academic section, are there any specific bird courses for first years or any notable professors to keep an eye out? Maybe we'll go with two people to start us off, and then we'll see based on time. Is there anyone in particular who wants to share for this question? If not, well, maybe Julia, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So the easiest course I took in first year was GL 106 with Krista. Devs 105 with Dr. Taylor was also fun and easy. He's the head department. So in my experience, usually the head department, like the lead or whatever you call it, they often are the better professors in my own experience. Same with Dr. Santaramo, he's the head. That's a second year course, but I would definitely recommend it because it's also quite easy.
Perfect. And Truman, do you want to also take on this question too?
Sure. I didn't really touch on bird courses a lot. I more or less talked about some notable professors. And this, if you're in comp sci, you'll actually run into some of these professors most likely. So Alan Abelson for calculus, first year calculus, Peter Taylor for first year linear algebra, Charles Molson for second year statistics. And then if you end up doing introductory to literary study, then Robert May.
And just to clarify, notable as in good or like not good?
Like very good, like
okay,
top quality.
Cool. Okay, make note of this then if you're going into CS for Queens. But does Henja or Salem, do either of you guys feel very inclined to share, or is it okay if we move on to the next question? Okay, perfect. Well,
doesn't have active, so I'm good to move on.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And I saw Salem nod. So, okay, we'll move on to the next one. How is your program in terms of difficulty? So this time we'll start with Hengja.
So it's hard to say difficulty in terms of kind of overall. People do find different things to be harder than others, and everyone kind of has their own individual learning strengths. From a general perspective, first year courses they tend to be more qualitative. So a lot of report writing, presentations and stuff. And then once you get to second year, that's where all the math, the numbers, the calculation come. So depending on where your strengths are, that's definitely something to balance. And then just in terms of a side note, I think at least for the commerce program, there's so many opportunities to basically get free marks. If you don't do as well on a midterm or on an assignment, there are always opportunities for like participation, for attendance and all that. In the end, everything works out.
Perfect. And Salem?
I would say that my program can be challenging, but for me it was really quite like enjoyable as well. Being in a program that's really passionate about human health, I was really able to kind of stay on top of everything and work hard and have fun as well. It's a really independent learning course because they use the flipped classroom learning style, which is you learn the material yourself and then you go to class to kind of apply the knowledge that you learned already. That being said, while there is a lot of memorization, since there's a lot of biology courses, if you kind of manage your time and work hard, this program is quite enjoyable and pretty manageable.
Perfect. And yeah, we'll get Truman and Julia to also share since everyone's in a different program. So Truman, do you want to take?
Yeah, sure. Computing program first year, I think a lot of people agreed that it's fairly easy. Of course, everybody's different. But it more or less gets more difficult once you get upper year. Like second year, there's a lot more, I guess, like difficult content because first year is a lot of review.
Perfect. And Julia?
I would say first year art sci is pretty easy. Usually you take one core course that you know you want to major in, and then from there it's really all random courses you want. In terms of Con Ed, you just have to take an extra course with the Faculty of Education, but it's honestly just like talking with your peers most of the time. So I would say it's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I also found like a lot of things that you guys said were really true. Like, I think Salem, you mentioned like if you're like really passionate about or like really enjoy what you study, it's like a lot easier. So yeah, I definitely found that too. I was fortunate to have a lot of elective courses in first year. So yeah, perfect. And then how did you prepare the summer before entering in September? So I think a lot of our incoming first years right now during the summer, maybe they're a little eager to see how they can start preparing. We'll start with maybe Julia this time, actually.
Sure. So I don't know if anyone here has heard of PASS, but it's peer academic student success. I'm pretty sure. So it's run by Queens, and the first week of school last year, I'm sure they'll do it this year too. They have workshops for like how to properly study, how to study for an exam, how to write an essay, you know, proper formatting and all that. So I attended all of those. But it was when the semester started, it was like the Friday of the first week. So I would definitely recommend doing that. If you just Google Queen's peer academic success, it should come up. And then they have a calendar usually of workshops that are going to happen, and they might have it in the summer too. I just didn't check before I started. So I would definitely recommend trying that.
Yeah, and Salem, do you also want to share?
Yeah, sure. So going into first year, I decided to sign up to a peer mentorship program to kind of help with the transition into university. It was through Q Success. And basically, I would meet with my mentor once a week, and he was an upper year in my program. So second year when I was in first year, and we kind of talk about the different projects I had, and he would help me answer any questions I had, whether it's about resources, courses, projects, etc. And then other than that, I just really enjoyed the summer and relaxed because, you know, going into university, you don't really have to prepare much. And since I took summer school in high school through all my other summers, I really took the time to really enjoy my time and myself with my friends and family as well.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we'll get Henja and Truman. Do either of you guys, you guys can both say a little bit, or if you don't feel too inclined to share, like we can move on. So like it depends, like it's up to you. It's up to you. So
Yeah, I can quickly add on.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think echoing Salem, I didn't do much tangible prep. It was kind of the last summer before university to enjoy. But what I did kind of find myself doing was just taking some time to think, to reflect on what my goals were, both in terms of career, in terms of academics, in terms of the people that I wanted to surround myself with. But I was cautious not to, I guess, do too much prep. I would say definitely interest change, opportunities come and go. So I think going into it with too much of a defined plan isn't necessarily a good thing, but I would say nonetheless have some sort of general idea of how you want to shape your first year experience and beyond.
For sure. And Truman, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, sure. I can add that I attended the Queen's webinars. I'm pretty sure they still have them. But this was for art sci at least. They have webinars about like course selection, I think residence move-in. So it kind of just helps you better understand some of those processes. And I guess if you are going into computer science, we do also have a peer-to-peer mentorship program, which will also pair you up with like an upper year. And I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I find like the programs where you can have like an upper year guide you either through a mentorship program or like another one-on-one program, I find those very useful. So yeah, definitely take advantage of those. But yeah, let's move on to the experience section. So internships, clubs, and ECs. So what was your involvement in clubs, ECs, and sports like during your first 2 years? And is there anything that you regret? Maybe if you could say to like your first year self, or any cool opportunities for your program. So we'll start with Henja.
Sure. So within the first 2 years, I think my involvement was kind of all over the place, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm involved on the Student Society as an advisory board director. I had some involvement in entrepreneurship related clubs, so looking at an active, so promoting entrepreneurship on campus through events and then through a conference as well. I participated as a mentor for Q Success, like some of the other panelists have already brought up. I did a couple case competitions. And then just, I guess, a side point in terms of, for those that are maybe less so interested in clubs, there are a lot more opportunities to get involved as well in other areas. So like volunteer work, being a TA, being an RA. So I think if clubs aren't your thing, there are definitely a lot more opportunities as well.
Perfect. And briefly, our other panels, maybe you can just list your involvements or like talk very briefly through them. We could start with Salem.
Sure. So I didn't join too many clubs because I wanted to kind of get used to first year university. But something that I did was the Synapse Research Competition. So it's basically every year they kind of give you a prompt and you can submit like a 1,000-word research paper, and you work with like groups to kind of propose a solution to what that prompt is. And then I also decided to join Q Success as a bounce back peer mentor after having the experience of being a mentee.
Perfect. Truman?
Yeah, sure. After first year, but going into second year, so summer, I was a TA. I was in Queen's Tech and Media Association as a software developer. I joined Queen's Code, which is essentially almost like Meet a Week, I think is the best way to put it. I was a peer tutor for ACES, which is Arts and Science undergraduate. I forget what the last letter represents, but yeah, it's for the undergraduate program essentially. And then I'm also an orientation leader.
Perfect. Julia, did you have anything you also wanted to add?
Honestly, no.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I didn't see your name. I was just like, maybe you wanted to add one or two things, but yeah, perfect, no worries.
All good.
Yeah. And then what ECs should I join? So maybe Julia, you can start us off with
Yeah,
this question.
sure. So I know at Queens there's a lot of intramural sports that you can join to stay healthy, stay active, meet new people. That's always fun. Pretty sure they usually start in the fall, but I honestly can't be sure of that. Also, there's a lot of like mental health groups you can join to stay healthy again mentally throughout the semester. And they have, I've heard of like intramural sports, but like yoga class, and you can gather a group together if you want to go to the gym, go on runs, go on walks, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's really important to stay active. So I think those are really great suggestions. And then maybe get one other person. So does anyone out of our remaining panelists feel very inclined to share about what ECs? Anyone can speak up, or I can just voluntold someone.
Sure,
Oh, I
I'll
heard,
go.
yeah,
Honestly,
okay.
yeah, one thing to just say is if you really think of any club, there will most likely be a club for it. So if you're really passionate about things, want to try new things, there's always like a club fair at the beginning of the year that to kind of have booths so you can go around. I guess just sign up for everything that you want to try out and later on kind of break it down to what you want to commit to over the next few years in university. But yeah, anything that you're passionate about and something that interests you will be good rather than you just focusing on school the whole time that you're in university.
For sure. And Truman or Hendra, is there anything that you guys want to share briefly? Okay, sounds good. So we'll just move on. Are there first year internship or research opportunities? So we can start with Hendra this time.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say kind of regardless of whether you do an internship or not in first year, that doesn't necessarily hinder your ability to get an internship in second year or beyond. So I spent my first year summer tutoring French, and then I helped a mini startup in Kingston with some of their COVID recovery strategy. But regardless of whether you got an internship or not, I would say definitely be proactive in maximizing the chance to do anything else, a side project, a passion, any summer courses, as long as you kind of make the most of your summer instead of wasting it. I think either way would be a good use.
Yeah, for sure. Like coming out to this panel. And Julia, do you want to share?
Sorry.
Oh, no
Yeah,
worries.
so
Okay.
no, sorry, I was just typing on the chat. So when I was talking to an upper year student about things, they told me specifically to if you search, like if you're in a psychology program and you just search Queen's psychology research opportunities, it should come up and there should be exact professors that are doing the research, and you can reach out to them directly and just express your interest in it. So that was something I heard from an upper year student that I'm going to do this year too, that I recommend you all do too.
Yeah. And Salem?
Something that I learned about, unfortunately too late, is the SWEP program that Queens kind of offers in the summer. There's different internship opportunities. It's not just research, but I know research assistant opportunities are there as well. I'm pretty sure the deadline is February. So if you're interested in doing some research in the summer or kind of internship at Queen's University, I would definitely recommend checking out SWEP.
Yeah. And Truman?
For computing, I didn't really see many opportunities geared towards first years, especially in my first year. But I guess during that first summer, maybe just take some time to learn, or I guess do something else that's productive, because there's definitely more in upper year that are offered.
For sure. I think the recap, I think all our panelists share just like be proactive and yeah, put yourself out there. But yeah. Moving on to our residence section. So what was your residence experience like at Queen's? Truman, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So in first year, I was in Leggett Hall, and it's a single plus residence. So what that means at Queen's is that you essentially have your own room and you share a washroom with someone, with only one other person. And so it was really nice to have your own privacy, but at the same time, I guess if you don't really make any efforts to really put yourself out there, it can almost be kind of isolating, because you're always going to be on your own if you don't put yourself out there. But for sure, just being on residence in general, it's nice to familiarize yourself with the campus and just meet other people.
Yeah, for sure. I think I also had a single plus residence my first year. So there's like the pro and con, like having your own room, but also needing to put yourself more out there more. And then Hengja, do you want to share about your experience?
Yeah, sure. So I stayed in Victoria Hall, which I think is the biggest residence, but as much as it's nice to meet a lot of people, the con is definitely Victoria Hall being notoriously known for fire alarms, especially in the middle of the night. So for those that are staying and that have already gotten their residence choices, I wish you the best trying to figure out how to sleep properly. But residence environment is great. I met one of my closest friends that lived beside me. And then in terms of resources, residence Dawn, usually an upper year that I stayed in residence before, is there on your floor to support with any questions you have throughout the year.
Perfect. As for transportation, how is it getting around campus, and what about for commuters? So why don't we start with Julia this time?
So I wasn't even on campus this year, but this is just some things I've heard from upper year students before I started. Taking a bike if you live on main campus and you have to be in West Campus, especially if you have like an 8 a.m. course, because it is like a 20-minute walk. But for just main campus itself, it's pretty easy to get around, I would say. Walking distance everywhere, so pretty good.
Yeah, and Truman or Hengja, is there anything else you guys wanted to add on to that? Or
I guess one thing to add, I don't know if they're actually going to continue the bus passes, but bus passes were a really helpful thing. But since last year, because of COVID, they actually removed the bus passes that were included as part of our tuition. So I guess look out for that. Otherwise, I guess the only big commute would be to West Campus.
yeah, for sure. And what was the meal plan system like? And then Hengja, do you want to explain how the system worked?
Yeah, so basically with the meal plan, you get it's included with residence, so there's no additional fees. It's 19 meals a week at a dining hall, where you can either eat at, I think, how many, 3 main dining halls, I want to say. And then you also have 200 kind of meal credits. They call them TAMs that you can use across some of the other non-dining hall locations across campus. So there's like Tim Hortons, there's Booster Juice, a burger place that's pretty good. And then on top of that, you get flex dollars, which is basically credit to spend across any snacks, for example, along the way.
Perfect. And Truman, is there anything new that you wanted to add for this question? No? Okay, perfect. So moving on to the last section for financial aid, scholarships, and bursaries, what are some resources both externally and internally at Queens? So we can start with Truman this time.
Sure. Queens has a lot of like, I guess, financial aid available, especially in first year. So they actually have the entrance scholarships that many of you guys might have already seen, which is based on academic achievement in high school. They also have a general bursary for everyone to apply for. And also specifically in first year, they have a first year bursary, if I remember correctly. So you can feel free to apply for that as well.
Perfect. And Salem, do you want to add?
Sure. Basically what Truman already said, and then external websites can be like Scholartree. They have a lot of little scholarships that you can apply for, and OSAP also helps out as well.
Yeah, I think the OSAP bursary is like closing tomorrow or tonight or something. So if you want to check that out, get on that after this webinar. And then Julia or Hengjia, is there anything new that you guys wanted to add as well?
No, you guys touched on everything for me.
Just quickly, from what I've heard, for those that are interested in taking summer courses, I'm pretty sure the summer bursary like allocations they give more during the summer than they do during the regular year. So I think they're a little bit more generous for those that are interested in taking summer courses.
That's good to know. Perfect. So now that we're done with the questions we collected from the registration forms, now we're going to open it up to anyone in the chat. So feel free to send out your questions. Okay, I need to scroll. Okay. Okay, I see the questions. Okay, there we go. Okay, so would anyone recommend studying to prep for university courses during the summer? I think this person's quite keen. If anyone would recommend that.
No. I would say no.
Anyone have a, I agree with that. Anyone have a different opinion that they want to share? Or we're all...
I would say like if you really want to, if that's something that helps you, completely go for it. Right now I'm going into second year and I'm going to take physics. I took high school physics, but I forgot all of it during the year. So I'm actually like going over it by myself because that's something that I know will help me. But if you know that self-studying is not your thing and it's just going to be a waste of time, definitely specifically the summer going into university, make sure you guys have fun because later on you might not be able to have that time. And yeah, for sure. And also just to add quickly, like maybe like instead of, I would say for me at least, like it was more helpful, it would have been more helpful if I prepped like just like I guess like my lifestyle or like my schedule or like using Google Calendar or like making that sure that I was organized, like going into school rather than like the actual material. But like Salem and Julia said, like, yeah, whatever works for you. How many clubs do you recommend getting involved in first year? And by the way, any of our panelists, like feel free to just jump in, like if you want to answer. Or I can volunteer people. Hengjia, do you want to take on this question? How many clubs would you recommend getting involved in?
Okay. I don't think there's a right number. A lot of clubs, they have different kind of commitment required. I think that's something that you can establish, reach out to people in the club to figure out what it's like, to see what the nature of the work is, how you can add value, to figure out if it's something that you're interested in. And if you're interested, then I would say join. I think I joined 2 or 3 in first year and then ramped it up in second year because it was online and I had more time. But yeah, entirely based on interest, I would say.
Perfect. I see that like some of our panelists also are answering in the chat, which is great. So I'll try to find ones that maybe haven't been engaged with. I know you guys mentioned like the West Campus is like a little farther apart. So they're interested in knowing what courses or programs would usually be in West Campus. And if I'm going into BAH, will I have a lot of courses in West Campus? So anyone who knows more about that program or.
No, you won't. Unless you're in Con Ed and you need to take a required education course on West Campus, then you won't have any.
Okay.
All the general arts and science courses are relatively close to each other.
I think oh, sorry,
Yeah,
if I
go
could just jump
for
in
it.
about West Campus. I think there were some biology courses potentially on West Campus. I know my friend actually had biocalc on West Campus. So I guess it just kind of depends on the courses, and for all we know, it could really change between each year. It's not really set in stone, so it's hard to really say. Also, importantly, there is also a residence on West Campus. So if you decide to pick a residence there, then I guess that's really up to you.
Perfect. Okay, finish us up. What is your favorite thing about Queens? And maybe everyone can share their like top favorite thing about Queens, and we can go down the list. So maybe we can start with Salem.
I haven't really like been on campus too much. Actually,
It doesn't have to be campus. I think they just mean about being a Queens student. Yeah.
I guess one thing would be the human cadaver lab. If you're going into health sciences, Queens actually has a human cadaver lab that we're fortunately able to use when learning about human anatomy. So that's definitely something that I think is super cool about Queens.
Perfect. Truman, do you want to go next?
Probably, I guess, like the people. I've met like a lot of people from like very diverse backgrounds. You can find people that have come like out of province, maybe even out of country. And like you can even sometimes I found some people that like actually have like known a while ago, but kind of like got disconnected from them. And it's actually really interesting to see like everybody just come together in like kind of almost like an isolated place because it is kind of far from everywhere else. So
yeah, for sure. And Hengja, do you want to go next?
This might sound like a little bit of a commerce answer, but I would say the alumni network. It's, I think, definitely something that has helped me a lot, not only in terms of kind of career progression, but also just reaching out to people to chat, to learn about different industries, to learn about their experiences, and ultimately to learn about yourself. I think that's definitely something that Queens prides themselves in, and something that I encourage people to leverage.
Yeah, for sure. And Julia, do you want to finish us up?
Yeah, I would say, of course, the people, the professors, but Queens has really, really cool elective courses that honestly I would never have thought could even end up being a course, but they have really cool courses. There's this one course in it's like language, literature, and culture, and it's about like the history of tattoos around the world. They just have really cool electives, and I recommend that everyone look them up. Mostly when in like third, fourth year. That's when all the cool ones come out, but I recommend looking for them now to make sure that you can take them because there's some really cool electives you can take.
Perfect. I like how everyone's answer was really different. So there's a lot to like, a lot to be excited for. And yeah, that being said, kind of like going with what Hank just said, like about like, utilizing your alumni network. This is your chance to connect with our panelists, especially if there's if someone said something particularly relevant or interesting. feel free to reach out to them. So we've linked some of their social media handles. So if you want to continue the conversation, feel free to reach out. And thank you to our amazing panelists for sharing their insights tonight.